Hello students, you all are welcome in this session where we are going to discuss the further cell structures and comparative study between different cells. We will start with this session with the differences in eukaryotic cells. So we are differentiating different type of eukaryotic cells, for example, animal cells, fungal cells and plant cell. They all are basically eukaryotic cells. So before in the earlier class, we understood certain differences between prokaryotic cells, which are very, very simpler cell structures, while eukaryotic cells are complex structures. So here we are understanding the complexity of different type of eukaryotic cells. So basically, first of all, we understood the cell, which is the basic unit of life. And this cell can be either prokaryotic, okay, prokaryotic cells, which are generally the bacterial cells, okay, bacterial cells. And the second category is eukaryotic cells. So we understood a few things about this, but here eukaryotic cells might be plant cells, right? They might be animal cells, or they might be fungal cells, okay, fungi. So these are different kind of eukaryotic cells, so they can be classified under these different categories here. So prokaryotic cells are mainly the bacterial cells, so they are primitive type, and we understood the differences. They do not have most of the organelles. They do not have a proper nucleus. They do not have a nuclear membranes, or prokaryotic cells, they are very simpler. So they have just a plasma membrane, then a circular DNA, which is present inside the cytoplasm, but they do have ribosomes, and the ribosomes are 70s types. This much we understood about prokaryotic cells. They do not have other cell organelles. While eukaryotic cells, they are complex type of cells. They are complex cells, okay, and they'll have most of the cell organelles. For example, mitochondria will be present, then Golgi bodies or Golgi apparatus will be present. Then they will have ribosomes, which are ATS type, and most importantly they'll have a nucleus. So they'll have a nucleus present in them, and they'll have endoplasmic reticulum, and they'll have a lot of cytoskeletal system developed. Different types of proteins will be present. They'll form a cytoskeleton inside the cell. So all these structures are present inside a eukaryotic cell, so they are very, very complex. And in that eukaryotic cells category, we will differentiate between plant cells, animal cells and fungal cells in this session. So here we can see, first of all, we are talking about different features which are present in eukaryotes, and then in animals, fungi and plants, whether they are present or not. So first of all, plastids. So plastids are basically the organelles which are responsible for photosynthesis. They'll have the chloroplast. So plastids are absent in animals. Animals do not do the photosynthesis. Fungi, most of the fungi, they do not have these plastids, while plants do have plastids of varied types, such as chloroplast for photosynthesis and amyloplast to store starch. So these are different kind of organelles, all right, and they'll be colored. So plastids are generally colored. So a family of organelles with two outer membranes and internal membrane sex. So next is cell wall. Cell wall is a rigid layer outside the plasma membrane, and to strength it gives strength and protects the cell. So cell wall is absent in animal cells, very important point, and the cell wall is present in plants as well as fungi. So in fungi, this particular cell wall is made up of chitin. So remember that. And in plants, it is made up of cellulose. So do remember this particular point. So in eukaryotes, the plant cells cell wall will be made up of cellulose, while fungal cell wall is made up of chitin. And in the previous class, we understood the prokaryotic bacterial cell wall, the bacterial cell wall. So it's not, although it's not eukaryotic, but to connect the cell wall component, the bacterial cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan. So do remember the difference, okay? peptidoglycan. Next is the vacuole. So these are the flexible fluid filled compartments which are surrounded by a single membrane. So what do we understand by this single membrane or a double membrane here? So here we were talking about two outer membranes and internal membrane. So basically, just as we understood that the the plasma membrane is made up of double layer of phospholipids. So there'll be something like this, and it will continue and it will continue. So this is how the plasma membrane is formed. So if this is a cell, the plasma membrane will be something like this. So the plasma membrane is not this big that we have drawn here, but yeah, okay. So connect it here and connect this one here. So this is not the thing. So here, this is how the plasma membrane is. Okay, so it is a bilayer. That means one phospholipid layer is present on the inner side and one on the outer side. So most of the membrane which are double layered will have similar kind of phospholipid bilayers, while the membranes which are single membraned, they'll have only single layer of these lipids present outside them. So they'll be covered by a single layer. So this is single membrane, and if it is covered by a bilayer like plasma membrane, so this will be called as a double layered membrane. Okay, so certain organelles are actually covered by this double membrane, and certain organelles will be covered by a single membrane layer. So we will understand the differences here. So vacuole is single membraned. Okay, plastids are double membraned. So vacuoles are basically fluid filled compartments which are surrounded by single membrane. They are small temporary vacuoles in animals. So animals do not have very prominent vacuoles. Okay, so to expel excess water or digest food or pathogens taken in by endocytosis, the vacuole size will not be very big or they'll not be very prominent in animals, while in plants and fungi they'll have a large permanent vacuole in cells of fungi and plants, and used for storage of substances and pressurizing the cells. So it keeps the cell structure intact and rigid and open. So the swollen like cell will be because of presence of these vacuoles. So it will have a very important role in fungi and plants. When compared to animals, they are temporary vacuoles. So it is used to just expel excess of water or digest food whenever it is required. Next is centrioles. So these are cylindrical organelles that organize the assembly of structures composed of microtubules. So there will be centrioles present inside the cell, from where these microtubule like structures, they'll construct different structures. And when you will study the cell division, spindle fiber formation takes place. So that actually starts from the centriole. So that moves the chromosomes in mitosis and 9+2 microtubules in cilia and flagella. So centrioles are also made up of microtubules, and flagella and cilia, they will also be made up of these microtubules only. So this is the common thing that is present in all of them. Now understand that these centrioles are basically present. So for example, if this is a cell, one centriole will be present on this side, another centriole will be present on this side, and spindle fibers will start forming from these centrioles, and they'll hold the chromosomes like this. So whenever we will do mitosis meiosis, that time you'll get to know more of it. Okay, so these are made up of microtubules. Now in particularly fungi and plants, the centrioles are absent except in fungi and plants with swimming male gametes, which will have a centriole at base of the flagellum. So flagellum base will have these centrioles from which the microtubules structure will come out. Otherwise, in most of the other plants and fungal cells, these centrioles are absent. So they are mainly present inside the animal cells, the centrioles. Okay. The next one is undulipodia. So cilia and flagella used to generate movement of cells, movement of fluid adjacent to the cell. So these are basically helpful in movement. So cilia and flagella will be the part of undulipodia, that is help in the movement of the cell. Cilia and flagella are present in animal cells, okay, including the tail of male gametes. So male gametes need to swim and reach up to the, so for example, if this is a male gamete, it will have a flagella like structure. It will help it to reach up to the female gamete, that is the egg, and to reach up to here it has to swim and reach here. So the flagella will help these male gametes to swim and reach up to this particular egg. So in plants and fungal cells, it is absent except in fungi and plants with male gametes that swim usually with flagella. So it is also absent the undulipodia for movement, because in plants and fungi they are not generally present in water. So these are generally present in small you can say animal cells that are present in water. So in water they need to move from one place to another. So in such kind of conditions they'll need cilia and flagella. And another example is male gametes for swimming inside the medium. So male gametes will have the flagella. In fungal and plant cells also, so the lower organisms will have the flagella. In fungi and plants also, certain plants that might be present in the water, their male gametes might have flagella. Okay, now coming to the next one, typical cell structure in eukaryotes. So according to the cell theory, all living organisms, they are made up of cells, and each cell is expected to have one nucleus. Each cell will have a nucleus. Okay, except for the condition while the cell is preparing to divide. So during mitosis and meiosis processes going on, the nuclear membrane actually disappears, and at that particular time the cell will not have a nucleus. So whenever, just as I told here, so just I drew this diagram. So here, if the cell division is taking place, so we can see the chromosomes also are suspended inside the cytoplasm. In this condition, the nuclear membrane will actually disappear. So the chromosomes will be freely suspended only in one condition inside the cytoplasm, that is during the cell division. Otherwise, it will be covered with the nuclear membrane which will be present. So if this is a cell, this is the nuclear membrane, and all of the chromosomes or the DNA will be suspended inside this nuclear membrane. Now, however, some structures in organisms do not follow a typical pattern. Some examples are red blood cells, phloem sieve tube element. So what are the differences in these? Skeletal muscles and aseptate fungal hyphae. So what are the atypical cell structures? So they are not the ideal cells which are actually present all over in eukaryotes. They have slight differences from other cells. What are the differences? Let's see. So red blood cells in mammals, these cells do not have a nucleus. So a mature red blood cell will not have a nucleus. So the newly synthesized or newly formed red blood cell might have a nucleus, but slowly it gets degenerated. At the later stage in their development in bone marrow, the nucleus is moved to the edge of the cytoplasm, and the small part of the cell containing is pinched off and destroyed by a phagocyte. So the nucleus is actually pinched off and destroyed by a phagocyte. So phagocytes are other cells that actually engulf the extra material that is present and then digest that particular material. So removal of nucleus makes red blood cells smaller and more flexible for movement, because red blood cells need to supply the oxygen to all of the cells, so they need to be of smaller size so that they can move much more easily. But they cannot repair themselves. If any red blood cell is damaged, because they do not have the DNA, so their lifespan is very small. It is up to 100 to 120 days. After that, so continuously new red blood cells are forming inside each and every organism. So plants move sap through tubular. So next is phloem sieve tube elements. So these phloem sieve tube elements, plants move sap through these tubular vessels made from the columns of cylindrical cells. The flow of sap would be impeded if the cells had a typical structure. In xylem vessels, which conduct water sap from roots to the leaves, all dividing cells between the adjacent cells remove, and plasma membrane of all the cells contents break down. This creates hollow tube and that no longer consist of cells. So basically, such kind of structures are formed. So the division will be such that the cells will be one over the other, and slowly the central septa or the cytoplasm or all the contents of these cells will actually degenerate and they will become hollow tubular structures, and such tubes, continuous tubes will be formed from which actually the water conduction will take place inside the xylem vessels. So phloem sieve tube elements in phloem which conducts sugary sap from the leaves to the parts of the conducting vessels are called sieve tubes. So basically the plants have two kinds of cells that actually transport water. So the ones that are transporting water are called as xylem vessels, and the ones which are transporting other materials like whatever the products of photosynthesis are, like for example carbohydrates, sugars, right, all that things are being transported by the sieve tubes. Okay, the dividing cells between adjacent cells are sieve like, which are with large pores for the sap to pass through. During development of sieve tubes, the nucleus and most of the cell contents break down, but the plasma membrane remains as it is essential for phloem transport. So basically in these sieve tubes, what will happen, the nucleus will not be present, but the cytoplasm will still be present. That will help in transport of the sugars that has to be transported. So such kind of cells will be present. They'll have pores, so that is why we call them sieve tubes, because there'll be a plate in between these two cells which will look something like this. They'll have pores, big pores within it, and these pores will allow the passage of the sugary elements that has to be transported from leaves to the other parts of the plant. So here the dividing cells between adjacent cells are sieve like. Okay, so the nucleus and most of the other cell contents break down, but the plasma membrane remains as such essential for phloem transport. Okay, the subunits in the sieve tube are usually called elements rather than cells because they're atypical structures. So they're not living cells exactly, but still they are atypical structure. That is why they are called as sieve tube elements. Okay, sieve tube elements are connected to adjacent companion cells. Now these companion cells and the sieve tube cell, they are actually originated from a single cell. They divide from in between, and one cell will form the sieve tube cell, okay, or the sieve tube element. Then the companion cell will be attached to this particular sieve tube cell. So this companion cell will be live. So out of the two cells that are formed, the companion cells will be live. They'll have a nucleus, but these particular sieve tube elements will not be live. They will not have the nucleus in them. Okay, sieve tube elements are connected to adjacent companion cells which have a nucleus and mitochondria. So these companion cells will have all the organelles. These companion cells help the sieve tube elements to survive and carry out their function. So basically whatever has to be transported, it actually first of all comes to companion cells, and from companion cells it is transported to the sieve tube element, from where it is transported to the other parts of the cell. And suppose for example if it has to be taken out from here, this particular cell will again send the sugar to this companion cell, and from companion cell it will be distributed to the other cells. So this is how the sugar distribution inside the plant cells takes place. So the next one is, let's see if there's a picture. There's a picture of these sieve tube elements, so it is not there. Anyways, no problem. So let's come to skeletal muscles. So some large multinucleate structures are formed when groups of cells fuse together. This type of structure is called as syncytium. Muscle fibers develop in this way. Columns of cell each with nucleus are formed by cell division. These cells then fuse together to form long muscle fibers. So several muscle cells actually fuse with each other to form long muscle fibers. Okay, so several cells like this, they'll fuse with each other to form large muscle fibers. So a single cell cannot stretch itself to this length, but the fusion of these different cells will make a single elongated muscle cell like this, and they'll have a lot of nucleus in them. Okay, muscle fiber develop in this way. Column of cell with a nucleus are formed in cell division. These cells then fuse together to form long muscle fibers. So each muscle fiber cell will have a lot of nucleus in it. That is because of the fusion of different cells. So that is how they are atypical. Otherwise, generally one eukaryotic cell will have only one nucleus. The next example of atypical cell in eukaryotes is aseptate fungal hyphae. So what are septate and what is aseptate? Let's understand that first. So what are fungal hyphae? So basically long strands like this. So in fungus, actually the cell division is only in one direction. So for example, if this is one long cell, so again the cell will divide in this direction, again it will divide in this direction. So several long strand like structures will be formed, and these are called as hyphae. Okay, so these are called as fungal hyphae. Fungal hyphae. Now these cells actually divide and they are septate if separation, this particular wall that separates these two cells is formed between these two cells. So these kind of hyphae are called as septate. But so each of these cells will have a nucleus and they'll have a separate cell. So there will be separate cells present all over this fungal hyphae. But if these septate or these septa are not formed, or if these particular structure which actually separates the two cells, they will not be formed, so the cell division is not complete here. So what will happen actually? So if this is a hyphae, so the cell is actually dividing. So for example, if this is a cell, it has a nucleus, and again the division is complete up to the extent that the nucleus is dividing into two nucleus. So replication is completed, and after completion of replication, yet there is no septa formation taking place. So in that condition, all of the contents are present in the hyphae, and such kind of structure will be formed where the nucleus will able to move. So the cell division is not complete where septa is not formed. That is why these fungal hyphae are called as aseptate, where the separation between two cells, the dividing septa is not formed between the two cells. So the thread-like hyphae of some fungi develop in this way. So the walls that divide the hyphae of the type of fungi into uninucleate cells called as septa. So hyphae without these divisions are aseptate. All right. So these are basically multinucleate structures which are called as cenocytes. They are also called as cenocytes. So the nucleus divides repeatedly without any subsequent cell division. Cell division is not complete because septa is not formed between these particular cells here. So the fungal hyphae with the septa are called as septate, where they'll have distinguished cells with each cell will have single nucleus. But in aseptate conditions, the separating septa will not be formed, because of which multinucleate hyphae will be formed, in which all these nucleus will be freely suspended in the cytoplasm, and again they will also be long thread like structures that will be formed. So here we can see this particular fungal hyphae is aseptate structure, and these are the fruiting bodies from where the spores are forming, and each of these spores will form a different fungal hyphae and will form a complete new fungal organism. Okay, so a micrograph of aseptate hyphae of fungus Rhizopus arrhyzus, which is the most frequent cause of mucormycosis, which is a disease. The spores and the sporangia that produce them are also visible. So spores, so this is a sporangia which will have a lot of spores in it, and all these spores will ultimately form more fungal hyphae here. So let's understand cell types and cell structure viewed in light and electron micrographs. So let's compare the prokaryotic cell, plant cell, and animal cell. So prokaryotic cells will mostly be single cells. They'll not be multicellular. Sometimes they're arranged in chains. Okay, but plant cells will always be multicellular apart from the gametes and zygotes. A few, if you talk about plant cells, proper plants, then they'll be multicellular, but certain categories like algae, they also fall under plants only. So in that condition, the algal cells might be unicellular. But if we are talking about higher plants, like if you're talking about gymnosperms or angiosperms, they'll always be multicellular. Okay, animal cells are always multicellular apart from gametes, zygotes, and blood cells. Now let's see, their size is small. Prokaryotes have small size. Cells are usually less than 5 micrometer in size. Their plant cell size is larger, more than 5 micrometer. Animal cells will also have large size, which is more than 5 micrometers. And let's see, often they are often rod shaped bacilli or spheroidal cocci or helical spirali. And then the shape tend to be regular with flat sides and cell junctions easily visible in tissues. Shapes tend to be round with junctions